Today, I thought I would do something a little different and share exactly what I track for my own health as a 43-year-old women's health coach. But before I get into it, more data isn't necessarily better. In fact, too much tracking can become stressful, overwhelming, and often a distraction from what actually moves the needle. I know this because I have seen it over and over again with clients. The goal is not to track everything or buy every gadget out there. It's to track the things that help you make better health decisions. So think about your finances. Most people track their income, their spending, and or their investments. You wouldn't just blindly spend money and hope that everything works out. Hopefully not. Your health is no different. Certain numbers and patterns can tell you where you're headed and help you make smarter decisions, whether it's about your nutrition, your exercise, your hormones, your supplements, sleep, and so on. So today I want to walk you through what I personally pay attention to, what I don't put a lot of emphasis on, and hopefully help you simplify your own health journey, so to speak. So let's start with something that I intentionally don't track every day. I do not weigh myself every day, and I don't recommend most women do that either, especially in perimenopause. Your weight can fluctuate 2, 3, 5, sometimes even more pounds depending on the day. It depends on your hormones, your menstrual cycle, how much sodium you ate yesterday. If you're focusing on progressive overload in your workouts, which I hope you are, and building muscle, whether you've pooped that day, if you've been experiencing more stress, if you've traveled, there are so many variables. So please don't get so hung up on that number. And I know this firsthand because the week before my period, I usually retain quite a bit of water, like many women do. Now, if I stepped on the scale every morning during that week, it would send me into a spiral and it just would not be a good idea. So the same goes for some of those body fat scales that you can buy and use at home, the ones that all the influencers are pushing. Those numbers are heavily influenced by hydration, water retention, and other factors. They're simply not accurate enough to make meaningful decisions day to day. Now, if seeing those metrics motivates you, great. Who am I to tell you not to buy those things? But for a lot of women, they create unnecessary stress and end up derailing progress more than helping it. So let's talk about what I actually do track. The first is my daily movement. Oh yes, I wear a Fitbit Inspire on my wrist. I actually replaced my old Aura ring because it was crapping out. And truthfully, I didn't want to spend another $500 for one that would maybe only last a couple of years. But I actually really love this Fitbit. I prefer it. I will link to it in the show notes, but you don't need a Fitbit or anything for that matter. You could use something like a pedometer. You can buy like a cheap one on Amazon for $10 if you want. The point isn't really the gadget. The point is knowing whether you are actually moving enough, because most of us are quite sedentary. We spend a lot of time sitting or laying down, right? Whether we're working, driving, watching TV. So I like having a general idea of how active I am each day and making sure that I am moving my body consistently. So should you. The next thing I track is my strength training. And this is one of the most important things that women over 40 should be paying attention to. I'm not tracking how long my workouts are or if I sweat a ton. I don't care about that. It's not really that important. What I do care about is, am I getting stronger? Am I seeing visible muscle on my body? Am I increasing the weight over time? Am I able to do another rep? Is my form improving? That's called progressive overload, and it's how we build and maintain muscle. Muscle is incredibly important in midlife. As you've heard me say before, it supports your metabolism, helps regulate blood sugar, improves your bone health, and really allows you to stay active and mobile as you age, which is really important, right? We're all going to get older. We're all going to die someday, but it's about the quality of the rest of our time here on this planet, don't you think? So if you're strength training, but you've been using the same exact dumbbells for years, your body has no reason to adapt, and you're probably not seeing any changes in your body, so you're probably really frustrated. So tracking your progress is far more valuable than simply checking the box off that you exercised. All right, the next thing I track is my nutrition. Now, a lot of women don't like to hear this, but it's not about counting every calorie forever. But I do think tracking your food, even for a couple of weeks, can be incredibly eye-opening. And we do have some of our clients do this because most women have absolutely no idea how much they are eating, or how little protein they're getting, or how little fiber they're consuming, or just how inconsistent their eating really is. Tracking gives you information. data. That's all it is. Maybe you are eating far less than you thought. Maybe you're eating a lot more than you realized. Maybe your protein intake is only half of what your body needs. Or maybe you're overeating fat and getting way more calories than you actually thought. So once you have that information, it helps you make an informed plan. Whether that's maintaining your calories or starting a small calorie deficit for fat loss, or maybe you need a slight calorie surplus because your goal is to build muscle. But without any data, you're just guessing and, quite frankly, wasting your time. Now, say you have zero interest or bandwidth to do this right now, I get it, then I would recommend at the very least keeping an eye on your protein intake, because it really is one of the biggest nutritional gaps that I see in women over 40. So start paying attention to how much quality protein you're getting every day and see how you feel. If you feel really good, fantastic. If you're still feeling sluggish, you're not seeing changes in your body composition, your energy is low, then maybe you need to bump it up a bit. Now, the next thing I track is how much water I am drinking. I know there's nothing sexy about that, but the amount of people who do not drink enough water is staggering. I aim for about half my body weight in ounces every day. Sometimes more if I exercise a lot, spend time outside, or it's really hot, or I sweat a lot more. Hydration is going to impact your energy, your digestion, your workouts, detoxification, and even your hunger cues. Yet so many women will start the day with coffee, and then maybe another coffee, maybe an iced tea or a matcha, and there's nothing wrong with those things. I love them all too. But you often forget to drink water, right? I hear this over and over again. So it really is such a simple habit, but it makes such a big difference. All right, the next thing is sleep. I track my sleep, but that doesn't mean that I'm obsessing over my sleep score. What I do is pay attention to patterns. How many hours am I sleeping each night? Do I feel rested when I wake up most days? How is my energy throughout the day? Am I waking up several times throughout the night? Is it taking me a while to fall asleep, or am I passing out within a minute of laying down? These things are all patterns, and they matter, because if you're exhausted every day, your workouts are going to suffer. Your mood is not going to be great. Your cravings are likely going to increase. Your recovery isn't going to be as good, and everything is going to feel so much harder. And side note, if you're somebody who snores, you have a partner who told you that you snore, or you wake yourself up because you're snoring, maybe you wake up because you're gasping for air, or you never feel rested no matter how much sleep you get, you may need to dig a little deeper and rule out sleep apnea. That unfortunately becomes very common in midlife. A lot of women have it, and it is really worth discussing with your healthcare provider. We give clients resources on this because sleep is that important. All right, the next thing I track is my menstrual cycle. Even though cycles and perimenopause are not always predictable, I still track mine. Not because I care if it's 28 days or 29 days. It's not about that. It's about patterns. Again, when do I feel my best throughout the month? When do I feel more bloated or heavier? When is my energy worse? When is it time to do my monthly breast self-exam? Like I mentioned earlier, the week leading up to my period is when I retain the most water. So instead of panicking that I've suddenly gained 5 pounds, I already know what's happening and I could be a lot kinder to myself. So during that week, I make sure that I am hydrating properly, I'm taking more magnesium, I'm eating more fiber, incorporating some lymphatic work, whether that's manual lymphatic drainage on myself, using my vibration plate a little more frequently, or even just dry brushing. I also pay closer attention to my sodium intake and making sure that I get enough potassium-rich foods. And finally, I pay attention to trends in my lab work, not one isolated result, trends over time. Things like my thyroid function, iron markers, blood sugar trends, vitamin D, inflammation, hormones, cardiovascular health, and so on. In the perimenopause method, we help you get the right blood work, whether it's through your provider or you can buy our panels, so that we can get insight into your overall health. And we go even deeper by looking at micronutrient testing so that we can personalize recommendations based on what's actually happening in your body without guessing. That's really where individualized and personalized coaching becomes very valuable, because the right strategy for one woman isn't necessarily going to be the right strategy for another. So if you're listening to this and thinking, okay, where do I even start? Maybe go back and listen again, but you do not need to track everything right right away. Really think about what feels manageable to you. Maybe this week you're simply tracking your daily steps or your protein intake or your water consumption or your sleep. Pick one or two things that gives you useful information. And remember, the purpose of tracking isn't to just collect data for the sake of collecting data. It's to gather information that helps you make better health decisions. So if tracking something helps you improve your health and it feels good to you, keep doing it. If it only creates anxiety and doesn't actually change your behaviors, it's probably not worth your energy. And if you're looking for somebody to help you interpret all of these health trends, your hormones, thyroid, blood work, nutrition, and create a personalized plan instead of piecing everything together yourself, that's exactly what we do inside the Perimenopause Method. We are open for August enrollment. You can learn more in the show notes and apply to work with us. Thank you so much for listening. Until next time. Hey, before you go, if you're resonating with this podcast and realize that your symptoms are anything but normal, my comprehensive program, the Perimenopause Method, may be a great fit for you. My team and I help women in their mid-30s to early 50s improve symptoms such as fatigue, disrupted sleep, anxiety, erratic moods, bloating, and much more. We do this by utilizing advanced testing, a personalized plan tailored to you, women's health and hormones education, and ongoing support so you never feel alone and you get results. If you're ready to commit to your health and feel like yourself again, but even better, check out the link in the show notes to learn more about the Perimenopause Method. The information provided is for educational and informational purposes only. I am not, nor do I act as a doctor or any other medical professional. I am not providing healthcare, medical services, or attempting to diagnose, treat, prevent, or cure any physical, mental, or emotional disease or condition. The information shared is not intended to be a substitute for the professional medical advice provided by your own medical or mental health provider.